Hey everyone, it's day 17 of the Solstice Fast, so the end is in sight now. It's that day when the moon is in between Mars and the Earth. So there's been some interesting energy today. This morning I was listening to a couple of guys on Autodidactic's channel. Put a link in the description. It's a very good channel. They're doing some pretty amazing work. And it's a topic that they've been covering about personal responsibility. Um, it's talking about those people who basically blame everybody else around them for how they behave. And it's to the point where they actually need to have things the way they are. They don't want to do anything that would inspire change because they're happy with things the way they are. They just don't want to be perceived to be happy with things the way they are. So they like to blame it on everybody else. As, this world is so rubbish. That's why I'm drinking for most of the day. It's because, what's the point? That's the point when everything like this is happening and this with the government and this with. When really our entire destiny, everything about our lives is controlled by us. It's all projected from the mind. All is mind. There's mind over matter. We're here to learn that. I believe that's something that comes up in a lot of films that you see. There's a lot of people have their leap of faith or their baptism of fire when they start to take control of their own destiny. They grab a hold of the steering wheel and don't let their mind be governed anymore. And govern just means to steer. So it's taking control for yourself. And it was interesting because they were talking about things. It's all things that I'm really interested in. I love listening to their podcasts. There was Campbell talking about how you need 3 points of a conversation or of a debate. You need to see 3 points of any situation to be able to get a grasp on it. You can't just see it from one point because that's like being indoctrinated. That's like just believing everything you're told by your school or by the media or whatever governing body is telling you one perspective. Then you have duality, which is politics, which is you getting both perspectives pushed down your throat. And it's two opposing perspectives to try and pull you either side of the land of duality, basically. It's like, who are you? Are you for or against? Are you with us or not? Are you one of us or not? And it's about who you align with and picking a team. It's basically like football hooligans getting angry at each other because they're supporting the wrong team. But you really need the third perspective to be able to see. So you got two people in that meme. They're looking at the number 6 on the floor. One of them sees the number 6, the other one facing him sees the number 9. When you get the third perspective, someone that's able to sit on the fence that isn't on either side, they'll look and go, it's a funny little squiggle on the floor. You're arguing that it's a 6, you're arguing that it's a 9. I can see here it's neither. And looks like both. So it's the third perspective that helps you see. And interestingly enough, the third letter is C. So we have the ability to see, that is the third star sign. You got Gemini, which is the 2 eyes. You've actually got 2 eyes in the word Gemini. The being able to see is the 2 eyes being connected to the third eye as the optic thalamus, which is apparently controlled by Saturn, the projector, the master of simulations. So if all of this world around us is just a manifestation of a projection from our own mind in the first place, there's really nothing stopping you from achieving your dreams. You're just making excuses if you're allowing some other belief, someone else's story to govern your story. It's not something that we have to be bound by. you can choose that path if you really want to, but that comes with a cost. If you decide that this world is a trap, we live in the matrix, this is a prison, that will be your life. You will get what you wish for. They say be careful what you wish for. It's like if you worry about something, that's basically praying for what you don't want to happen and manifesting it. It's not where you want to be putting your attention. You could far better put your attention towards things that will help. I've seen countless things on social media, the news, loads of things that don't add up. And I could tell people till I'm blue in the face, look, here's something that doesn't add up. Here's something that, look, they're lying to us. They're like, it doesn't matter. All I'm doing is giving them my energy, when that energy could be going towards creating something and making something better, being able to produce something, being able to use the imagination rather than that repetitive side of the brain that would just keep on going round and round in a rut. That's the same side of the brain that I used to fall victim to when I was blaming the world around me and drinking myself to death. It gives you an excuse. That's why I'm having 3 McDonald's breakfasts in the morning. Because, oh, well, might as well eat it. It's not going to give me food poisoning. It's not even real food. So that's my answer. Just eat it anyway. It's not the best. Definitely not the best outcome. Just poisoning yourself, really. It's only my fault if I eat McDonald's and drink alcohol and get fat and drunk. It's just, there's personal responsibility. It's about learning to tame your dark side. We all have a dark side. We all have a shadow self. You can see mine is just slightly behind me here on the orange. So the beginning of Peter Pan, he's wrestling with his shadow. It's your shadow self. You never manage to get rid of it. People talk about this ego death, like, oh yeah, I've managed to have my ego death. I had my dark night of the soul. Although all that's behind me now. Like I've had my dark times, and that's it. No more shadow for me. There's still a shadow. There always will be. You wake up with it every day. There's no way that you're going to get rid of it completely. It's about learning to live with it, learning to live with your darker side, learning to be able to work together. Because when the two opposite extremes come together, that's like having that third perspective. That's like the 6 and the 9. There's someone there to say, hey, have you considered the third perspective? Now we can all view it as interesting rather than looking at it as you're wrong. No, you're wrong. It's the amount of people that they only ever had one perspective. They were the people with funny colored hair that were screaming about Trump getting in or some other thing, because all they'd been told in at school and in with the indoctrination of this and that, and social media has given them an echo chamber that's just kept on repeating to them what they already had been told, to the point when they see something else happen, they can't handle it. Their brains jump to, the only way that this can happen, the world must be racist. Everything must be transphobic, racist. Just, there's something wrong with everyone. They can't handle the other perspectives. And that, I think, a lot of children are losing the ability to be able to see from more than one perspective. That takes imagination. That takes being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. If you can't do that, you expect the entire world to bend to you. And that's not how the world works. Even though we are projecting the world from our own minds, yeah, your world can work like that if you really wanted to. But when you get that third perspective, you'll see that's not how it was designed. It's not what it was designed for. It's not how it's meant to be used. It's meant to be used so you can learn how to achieve your own dreams. And the only thing stopping you is you. If you haven't learned how to get a grip of the shadow in the first place, that's probably a good place to start. I'm talking about this like a realization, like I'm still on the journey. I'm not thinking I'm any better than anyone else talking about these people with colored hair. That was me. I'm one of these people with colored hair that came out maybe not so over the top screaming about this and that, but I definitely went down a path of being on one political side for many years. And it's something that does consume you in a way. You can't see outside of the echo chamber that you're placed in. You can see possibilities, but you see in so much from the other side that it confirms to you you must be in the right place. But it's the same for the other side. They're watching your side. You're looking at each other's worst examples and picking points from that to reaffirm what you already thought. Now, if you were to stop thinking about things in terms of duality being fixed, that there's right and wrong, you could see things as interesting and discuss them and debate them and view it from many perspectives. And that is what they've tried to take away. They've tried to take away that middle ground. Have you noticed with rich and poor people, it's now very rich and very poor? You've lost the middle class. The middle class is gone. There's not people in the middle that can see it from both sides and be the mediators in this one. They're doing their best to make sure that it's a division, because this is the world of duality that we're experiencing. That's how it's designed. They, as in the agents that manifest around us in the world that be. It's something that we have control over, even though we don't realize it. I love doing the fasting, and I love that I've gone back to the juice because this has just given so much more energy to it. I was listening to Mooji earlier. I'll put a link in the description. Mooji is awesome. He has satsangs where he'll reduce things down to really simple ideas so that you can understand oneness without duality. He talks about being free, not just from oppression, but also from liberation. So how are you going to be free from being free? Well, it's because you're no longer concerned with the concept of being free as a thing. You're not picking a side. You've just learned how to become unconcerned with both sides. You're learning to pull away from the duality and witness the singularity in its glory. And this is, I think, a video called The Boundless Ocean. And it's all been relevant. And it's all come about right at the time when the moon is in between Mars being very close to the Earth and also the moon still being relatively close to full. Full moon energy, it doesn't just turn up for a day and then disappear. It is like a slide. It goes up incrementally. It doesn't just full moon, half moon eclipse. You'd have all of the shades in between. So the few days before and few days after, it still contains that same energy. And as you've got the moon, which represents healing and recuperating, you've got the Mars energy that represents action and doing. And I felt the combination of the two today. It's come together in such a beautiful and inspiring way. I thought it was going to be more like conflict. I thought that I was going to have to try and choose between itching to get up and do something and relaxing and recovering from something, but like a pain in my side or something like that. But instead, I have felt an insane amount of inspiration today. I've started writing things. I'm feeling proud about what I'm writing. I'm not going to tell anyone. It's good to keep it to yourself until you've got it manifested. Helps it to manifest better. Everything else, I've had bad luck. Every time I mention something's coming, it's now coming in the distant future. Like this, I feel, is a major step forward. And there's still 4 days left of the fast before I'm back to food. I bought a lot of food today. I went out shopping to try and beat the Christmas crowd since I've got the free time. And I was also able to hunt for some bargains. So get things while they're cheap. Go to the areas in which the shops are cheaper. And same shops as going to Waitrose and Marks and Spencers, but looking for the cheap deals, so going to the cheaper of the shops. It's not just being poncy, not for the sake of being poncy. A lot of what I get is fruit and veg, and it's quite hard to obtain stuff that hasn't been messed with, genetically modified, things like that. Even my partner, she still eats meat. Getting things like that is nitrite free and least amount of additives, it's hard to find places. Very unimpressed with Tesco, Asda, and I think maybe Sainsbury's avoided it, but doing the appeal when Bill Gates's spray gas was put into the fruits and veg so they would sit on the shelves for longer. So you're basically just buying stale fruit covered in unknown chemical. I'm like, yeah, wonderful. So now I have to buy from the expensive places, which luckily enough we had already moved more towards that side anyway. But you'd think with your basic foods you'd be able to buy them at local places too. I actually have to go traveling every time I go to these places. So what I ended up grabbing, things like carrots, 75p for a bag of them in Waitrose. Decent quality Waitrose essentials. It's not that expensive. My shop in Waitrose would probably cost less than some people shop in Lidl's. And the food that I've got butternut squash, some sweet potatoes, a load of onions. Even though I'm going to be trying to eat more sattvic in the new year, I'm going to enjoy some garlic and onions the rest of this year. And got quite a lot of bits, even a couple of packs of cherries that were on offer. They're usually £3 or £4. They were £1.61 and all looked in relatively good condition. So now for the next few days of the juice fast, I can slowly warm up to having food by doing a few smoothies. I got some bananas as well. They should be ready in a couple of days. Nothing looks ripe when you walk in there. All the bananas are very green at the minute. Look like they've been cut way too early. But I feel quite excited about the food as well, about the concepts of what I can make, how it's going to taste. Everything's going to be so much more flavorful. I'm looking forward to so many things, and I don't really know how to express this energy. This is very mind blowing and clear minded. This is the longest I've been without cannabis in a long time, and I feel higher than I usually do when I smoke. When I smoke, it usually works as a muscle relaxant. It calms me down and I'm nice and chill. I feel nice and chill anyway. And on top of that, my mind is clear and way up here. Everything feels good at the moment. I would definitely recommend doing the fast. I would definitely recommend not pushing the water too long. Only go for as long as your body can handle. For most people, it's 3 days would be the maximum unless you've got experience fasting. I see a lot of influencers try to encourage you, yeah, just go for 21 days. It'll be like all water, no problem. You will have problems. Like, it's not as easy as people say. It's hard for me, and I'm used to not eating a lot of foods that other people would find it hard to come away from, just as I did when I first started. I'm glad that I took this path. I spent many years just blaming everything else and everyone else for the reason I do the things that I do. It's always been me. And I'm now capable of changing it, manifesting different life for myself. And yeah, we've got karma coming. I'm probably still going to lose my teeth. They're not hurting today, which is good. But it's, you get what you give. What I gave my body was a load of aggro. I gave it a load of extra problems and then had to go to extreme measures like doing the fasting to be able to clear out my GI tract, the gastrointestinal tract. Managed to get rid of so much waste that wasn't meant to be there. I had a movement this morning. It's been a few days. When I was on the water, it felt like nothing was really coming through. 24 hours on orange juice. This morning, I've ended up releasing something that didn't need to be there. I don't want to go into too much details. Whatever it is, I'm glad it's gone. And this is like easy in comparison. Stuff that was coming out before was on a different level. It was so disgusting that my eyes were widely opened. I decided that I was going to do fasting at least once a year. Chose to do it on Lent. Thought that the 40 days in the desert, Jesus' story with Lent, were tied in well with fasting, especially as you do feel like the devil is tempting you every second of the way to stray from your fast. As soon as you find temperance, the devil is there. The temperance card in tarot, the devil is the next card. It's literally always there. And once you find temperance, you are on the path. That is the path to clear mind, clear body, and good feelings and good health. I feel like I've gotten a lot closer to achieving the kind of health that I want. So once a year, I do the fasting at minimum. Since then, gotten into doing a lot more. Find that some people, they do it 4 times a year, one time every time it gets to the solstice or equinox, do a little flush. You don't have to go for a long period of time to be able to achieve good results. Uh, Being an Aries, bit of an extremist, always tend to charge headfirst into it, try and do long ones. But if anyone was interested in trying it out, the way that I did the first one, I didn't plan to do 80 days in a row. I just decided I was only going to drink apple juice that day and see what it felt like. See what it felt like at the end of the day. If I had no food, no McDonald's, which I was used to, or food from the sandwich section of the co-op, or the dodgy lunch van that came around with furry cakes, like instead of fairy cakes, they had little bits of mold on the bottom once. And it's just the difference that you feel, or the difference that I felt, was enough to pull me away from that entirely and set me on a different path. And that's the kind of thing that I really look back on with pride. That's something that went really well. That was a good decision. That's something that I don't regret. And after the first day, it was a 24-hour period. I was like, right, I'm allowed to eat again. Wonder if I could go a second day. And then after the second day, it was like, actually, it's a little bit of pain now. Stomach shrinking a little bit. And it doesn't feel like it's able to shrink because there's something stuck to it. You can kind of feel the uh, squeaking. What would it be? It's almost like you feel it creaking. You feel things, your stomach starts getting smaller, and what's stuck to it starts to peel off. And when that happens, you release things that you didn't even know were there. And once that happens, your body feels like it's just got rid of a whole lot of problems. It's like you just feel the world get lighter. It's almost like someone that you don't like suddenly stops turning up to the social events you go to. Something's changed for the better. Your immediate area around you has improved. Because all in all, change comes from within. If you're getting angry at the government and thinking about, oh, it's okay, someone will save us, like, yeah, the Trump era now, that's going to save us, or Jesus, you think Jesus is going to come and save us, and it's like, we've been placed here for a reason, and it's not to be saved. Sorry if that's a bit harsh, like, don't want to be insulting anyone for their faith, but from what I read in the book, it's all about personal decisions. It's not about sitting around and waiting for something. Jesus says, come, I am the way, the truth, and the light. Come with me and let the dead bury their dead. Nothing is more important than walking this path. So that's if you're a Christian and you're sitting there drinking your beers and waiting for Jesus to save you. It's not in this life. There's only one person in this life that's going to be able to save you. Because if we are all one, who is Jesus really? Is that part of our story? Or you really think it's a part of his story? His story is not our story. Our story is what's projected. His story is what's narrated. The stories are well crafted, and all of the symbology always lines up because this is a perfect creation. But ultimately, it's down to us to save ourselves. There's no point waiting for the Messiah. Just worth searching for the message. Seek and ye shall find. Ask and ye shall receive. If you build it, he will come. I fully believe that. And I fully believe that we're on a much better path already. Well, I believe we. How do you guys feel? On that note, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more.